Nice enough to join us, outstanding NFL insider from The Athletic, Jeff Howe. Jeff, welcome to the show. We appreciate it. Let's start with Jimmy G. I understand that, according to what you wrote here, Jimmy G, who had a rough time here, as we all know, with the 49ers, he has found happiness as a backup with the Rams. Can it be true, Jeff?
Well, he's in a different phase of his life, and he's gone through a lot the last few years. I mean, if you look at his career as a whole, I mean, just entering as Tom Brady's backup and Belichick on draft night, basically pointing to the age or Tom Brady's advanced age and possibly needing a succession plan. I mean, no pressure there, kid. But then as he kind of grew up, you look at the way things really spiraled a little bit, if that's how you want to call it, with the 49ers. And then Trey Lance, is he going to play? Is he not going to play? All that other stuff. And then he goes to the Raiders, and he comes in after foot surgery, and that was a difficult recovery. And then he gets benched on the same day that Josh McDaniels and his Patriots connections are all fired. So it's been a pretty chaotic few years for him. And the chance to, knowing this offseason, he was not going to find a starting job or a guaranteed starting job. So it's like, hey, let's go to one of the best offenses in the league. Let's recalibrate for a year and kind of reset expectations and take it from there. So there's some peace of mind to be had with that.
Jeff, it's your boy Drapes, man. Kyle Draper, thanks for jumping on with us. How you been, man? Good to have you on.
Hey, it's good to be had. So I appreciate you guys bringing me on once again.
Hey, Jeff, what rookie quarterback stood out to you this first week of preseason action? Anybody you had your eye on?
Preseason-wise, not in particular, but I did stop in Chicago a couple weeks ago, I think it was, and I saw Caleb Williams. And that, there's obviously still very much a work in progress going on at that stage of training camp. I mean, they probably only had 4 or 5 padded practices. So the speed of it is still going to be a little tough, and the consistency is going to wear on him. But he made 2 or 3 throws in that practice. I mean, one on a deep ball to DJ Moore. It was the day Moore signed his $110 million extension. A couple throws that were really nice to Adunze in the back of the end zone. I mean, those 2 look like they could really light up the league. And you just look at the amount of help that he has around him. They need that offensive line to be better, and I'm sure Caleb Williams is going to have some inconsistency issues, as you would expect from any young or rookie quarterback. But, man, there were enough wow moments that day that you could kind of see, like, when this thing eventually clicks, he could be something special.
Jeff Howe is with us from The Athletic. And, Jeff, before we get to the 49ers, I wanted to ask you about another former 49er quarterback. I saw, and this is my fault because I didn't see this in The Athletic, but I saw 2 different reviews of Trey Lance's performance yesterday. One said, he played really well and did the Cowboys a great favor. Then I saw another piece that said, he was terrible. So I don't know how did Trey Lance play, for what it's worth, in the preseason game against the Rams, and where are the Cowboys now with their all their contract situations they got to sort through?
Oh, I mean, how much time you got?
Yeah.
In terms of preseason performance, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, I guess, on some of this stuff. It's easy for the guys on the ground. I'm sure I was guilty of it too. I mean, you have a series of takeaways and you feel pretty strongly about them, and sometimes it leads you in one way and sometimes it leads you in the other, and you can be sitting next to the same person who's watching the exact same thing as you. So. Yeah. I don't know where the disparity lies in there. I know in terms of Trey Lance's place on the depth chart, I mean, right now he's pretty firmly the number 3 guy. Cooper Rush has a very good handle of their offense. They love that about him. And, of course, when if you ever need to have an emergency backup situation, whether it's 1 start, 2 starts, with something on the short-term side, or even if, you just need an emergency succession plan and you're trying to figure things out on the fly in the middle of the season, you want somebody who can come in and really know the offense and to kind of keep everybody else just kind of operating at least on schedule. And then if that thing tapers off and you want to go to the high upside guy, depending on how your team is doing it at that point in the season, then maybe they look at somebody like Trey Lance. For right now, it's all about making sure that they need to know whether or not Trey Lance has a spot on the 53-man roster, or if the practice squad is ideal for him. I know they like the idea of carrying 2 quarterbacks, and anytime you can get away with that, teams are going to enjoy that luxury if possible. But just in terms of the contract, the contractual structure that the Cowboys are dealing with, there's a lot to go off of. I mean, Micah Parsons is firmly in the backseat right now. He's the number 3 guy, which is understandable. He's got some term left, and he's still, next year is the 5th-year option. So they've still got some time on some relatively cheap money with him. So that's why he's on the back burner. And to my understanding, he understands that. Dak is the priority, but that's just such a complicated deal. And you can look at, I can't remember if it's 26 or 29. I think it's $26 million in cash that he's making this year, but the $55 million cap hit, and that leaves $29 million in dead money. So if you reach the extension right now, you still need to carry that $29 million in dead money on the books through the duration of the deal. So trying to figure out how to structure that is important while trying to make sure the player is happy. And when you're talking north of $55 million a year, there's a lot going on there too. And oh, by the way, their star receiver still isn't in camp. And, I've gotten a sense that there's been some progress with CeeDee Lamb. Excuse me. I got some sense that there's progress with that one, but not ready to drive it over the goal line yet. I think one advantage that I think all sides have there, because he's on the rookie deal, those $40,000 daily fines can be relieved, and I would expect that to happen once he's able to report. But he's not reporting without a new deal.
Our guy Jeff Howe joining the drive, guys. Jeff, let's get to the 49ers. What do you make of this Brandon Aiyuk situation? Is it a game of chicken right now where, both sides are seeing which one blinks first?
Yeah, pretty much, because both sides have varying degrees of leverage. And those are always the fascinating stalemates, because you've got one side that says, well, if I just hold on a little bit longer, my price is going to go up. And you've got the other side saying, well, we're pretty darn good without you. So I'm not saying I want to just move on from him with nothing, but there's a lot going on here. You talk about the guaranteed money that would involve putting that into escrow when you've got a lot of guaranteed money tied up in other contracts. That's a bit of a hurdle. You're talking about the inflated wide receiver number, pointed to Amon St. Brown, another wide receiver or two whose name I'm kind of blanking on here, whose deals kind of, we always looked at Tyreek and A.J. Brown and certainly Justin Jefferson and that number at 30. But I think what complicated things with somebody like Aiyuk is that second tier. Like all of a sudden, the second tier receiver was going from like 18 to, let's say, 22 million. Now that second tier is between like 25 and 30. So that really heightened Aiyuk's market. I think at this point, my read on the situation, and I want to preface this by saying it's extremely fluid and things have changed quickly, and I wouldn't be shocked if they do again. I really think it's down to the 49ers and the Steelers. And Aiyuk knows how good he has it with San Francisco. We saw, the actions with not wanting to go to New England despite a chance to be one of the several highest paid wide receivers in league history, which tells me that it's not just about money. He wants to go to a good, solid situation, an offense that has proven its worth. And, he doesn't want to just sign this big deal, go agree to a trade, and then kind of just fall off the radar because that offense just isn't where it needs to be or where the 49ers' current offense is. So Aiyuk's in a good spot where he can choose to be patient, play out the season with the 49ers on the current price tag, which obviously he won't like. But a year from now, if things kind of stay where they are, the 49ers could move on from Devo a little more easily. That means they could have more money to pay Aiyuk. Or a year from now, Aiyuk winds up going into the open market, and he probably becomes one of the 3 highest paid wide receivers in league history. Or the Steelers could bite, and they could say, hey, here's a second-round pick or a second plus whatever, and still offer him 30 plus. And if they get to that point, then I think you probably see a deal materialize. But this has been a complicated one from the jump.
Jeff Howe with us from The Athletic. Jeff, we know that Kyle Shanahan has come so close to winning a Super Bowl. If you include his time with the Falcons, 3 times he's come so close, hasn't won a Super Bowl yet. Would you say, if these are your choices, would you say ball hasn't bounced his way, or he's just run into Mahomes or Brady? Or do you think maybe there's a lesson about winning a Super Bowl that he as a coach has not learned yet?
Well, I think he certainly had not learned that lesson in 2016 with the Falcons, and running into a guy like Tom Brady in that organization where they were at, just so many elite players. I know 28-3 and all that other stuff, but the Patriots still left you very little room for error. And I guess a 25-point lead is not enough room for error. But the last couple times with the Niners, I mean, yeah, you could point to the decision with the kickoff and overtime, the rules and maybe not having the best strategy beforehand for sure. You look at the first one with the 49ers with was it Garoppolo, that deep interception downfield, I believe it was. That's a little bit of a player error, but a play or two here decides a lot of these Super Bowls. And Shanahan right now, that one or two plays has gone against him so far. So, yeah, I mean, Andy Reid had some issues like that he had to get over, and now that he has, it's been a snowball effect. That certainly happened. I mean, look at LeBron had to take his lumps before he was able to really get to a point of greatness. I mean, this stuff happens across all sports, whether it's a player or coach, what have you. And I mean, I still think Shanahan is as good of a coach as there is in terms of a proven track record or resume. He's still missing that key component. But yeah, I mean, sometimes it's a break that you give away yourself. Sometimes it's a break that you just don't get because the play doesn't work out the way that you drew it up. But yeah, I mean, I certainly see why there's pressure on him to get over that hump. And I'm sure nobody's putting more of it on him than himself.
Jeff Howe joining us. Jeff, give me a surprise team. Give me an under-of-the-radar kind of team in the NFL this year.
And before you answer, Jeff, you should know that I think Washington is getting the most.
Yeah, Washington is getting a lot of love out there.
Experts, Washington is getting the most love so far.
Interesting. I'll go. I don't know if you've gotten this one. I'll go Arizona.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm not ready to put my job on the line that they're going to make the playoffs or anything like that. But that's a team that is extremely well coached. Jonathan Gannon and Drew Petzing opened a lot of eyes last year. They love the scheme. Monty Austinfort is doing a really good job building up the offense around Kyler Murray. The roster around Kyler Murray. And there are people in the NFC who are like, oh my goodness, Arizona's coming. And it may not be this year, but if they are able to build off of what they put on tape last year and they're able to keep Petzing for at least another year, that's a team that if they don't make a push in 24, that's a team that could make some noise. Maybe like the Lions a couple of years ago where they make a late run and they give a lot of so-called power teams some headaches. They make that late push and it's like, oh, are they going to get to 9-8 and maybe knock off a quote-unquote more talented team before they're able to kind of really learn how to win on the bigger stage. But I've heard a lot of love for Arizona so far.
Well, Jeff, we asked you for a surprise team, and that would be a surprise.
You're the first one to mention him.
We appreciate that. Jeff Howe, make sure you
delivered for you.
Yes, absolutely. We appreciate it, Jeff. Enjoy your week. Hope to talk to you again soon.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate you having me.
Mm-hmm. When we come back, we have a date, venue, and opponent for the Kings Opener. What does it all mean next? Drive Guys, Sactown.